What is going on, y'all? I've got some huge buffs and changes for all three members of the Rhydon line. Not just Rhyperior, not just Rhydon, but Rhyhorn as well. These guys are what I call semi-pseudo legendaries. If you are a new viewer here and you aren't familiar with what this hack is, there is a new tier, I guess you could say, of Pokemon. Although honestly, I've already put a bunch of thought and effort into making every single Pokemon viable and unique, regardless of their base stat total, because of the way that they all have two abilities to switch between with an infinite use ability capsule, and they all have all types of crazy new moves, all of which are heavily buffed and changed and reworked. If you are new here, or excuse me, if you have yet to do so, go to the Google Sheet down below. Look at this Google Sheet right here. If you see this little tab on the bottom that says search all moves here, you can check out all 600 plus move buffs and changes. It took me a long time to log all these, not only on the sheet but also in the move descriptions and all that stuff, and it's very, also to balance them all around one another and just to make them all viable and fun to use. And yeah, pretty much every single move is reworked, so I would heavily recommend giving these a look. As you can see on screen, they're organized into so many different categories. You can click these little links and it'll take you to those sections. You can check by type, by effect, whatever it may be. Not to mention everything else in the Google Sheet is also heavily interconnected, so that's all really fun. With that being said, yeah, all three of the members of this evolutionary line are viable over one another. They all have their own unique tools and traits that they can use. Rhyhorn being the fastest and technically the strongest, because 118 base attack with Reckless is stronger than 133 base attack, and he is also the fastest. That doesn't actually mean he's the strongest, obviously. His base attack is still the lowest, and whatever else, for example, with Hustle, Rhydon is by far the quote-unquote strongest in terms of raw damage output, while Rhyperior is actually the most defensive. Despite the fact that Rhydon can hold a Violite, Rhyperior is still superior to Rhydon defensively, which I think makes the most sense for their designs. Rhydon should be the most offensive, or Rhyhorn rather. Rhyhorn should definitely be the fastest. He's like a little rhino guy. He's not actually little, he's huge, but and then Rhydon and Rhyperior are obviously slower and bulkier. The line actually gets slower progressively. They lose 30 speed for each time they evolve, which I think is pretty cool. Overall, I mean, dude, you could genuinely actually use Rhyhorn the whole game, and it would be like a totally viable option. I would only ever keep it super long if I had like a plus speed nature and good speed IVs. Then it's worth it. Otherwise, it's not worth it. You may as well just go with Rhydon, because Reckless is really cool, but you don't need it. There are tons of new recoil moves which they can abuse, specifically Head Smash and Headlong Rush being 150 base power and dropping your defenses. So they're basically like close combat and combined with Double Edge. So like close combat and Double Edge in one move, 150 base power. So you have Headlong Rush and Head Smash stab moves right there, and then you have tons of great coverage moves which are Reckless boosted. Keep in mind these moves are also good on the other forms, but not as great because you are slower. So I don't know, it's not as great, but I would probably rather use Rockbreaker personally, because that drops your attack stat by 2, but there's no recoil, there's no defense drop. So not to mention 2 Rockbreakers in a row is still plenty strong. The second hit being 75 base power. So that's 225 base power, stronger than 2 rock slides in a row, stronger than 2 rock climbs in a row even. So that's also super fun. Hustle is heavily buffed and reworked in this hack, so that's super fun. Rhyperior has Sandstream, as you can tell, not like the most absolute fitting ability. In fact, I used to have Solid Rock and Bulletproof, but I felt like Rhyperior was still kind of situational with just Solid Rock. Obviously, it's a nice ability and all, but it's whatever. I ended up giving it to Onyx instead as the wraparound type with Solid Rock. I think it fits him a little bit better anyways, while Rhyperior can just be super tanky with Sandstream and Assault Vest as well. He is completely dwarfing Rhydon in terms of special bulk, and then obviously physically, Rhydon would be bulkier. If you want a physically bulky mon, you might want to go with Rhydon. However, having that held item freedom is still a really big deal on Rhyperior. Not to mention his base attack is still higher. For example, on battle armor sets, Rhyperior is stronger. And yeah, held item freedom in a ROM hack like this, that's a pretty difficult one where you're going to want to run a lot of different items for a lot of different boss fights, is definitely super important. Back on the topic of Hustle though, Hustle is heavily buffed in this hack in a lot of different ways. Wide Lens boosts accuracy by 15%, making moves 92% accurate, or at least regular moves. Rock Polish is huge, especially for Rhyhorn and Rhydon because of their higher base speed stats. Rock Polish now gives a +1 accuracy boost as well as +2 speed. So you click Rock Polish on Rhydon, you outspeed pretty much everything in the game with max speed investment, and you get +1 accuracy on top of the Hustle boost, and you can spam all types of powerful rock and ground type moves, of which there are many new ones. Again, I highly recommend you check out what all those new moves do down in the description below. And then there's also a bunch of new moves that flat out bypass the accuracy check, but before I talk about those, I will quickly touch on other moves that give you accuracy boosts. So not only does Rock Polish and Home Claws do that. Moves like Skull Bash will give you +1 attack, accuracy, and defense. And Smart Strike is a reteachable TM that will never miss, and it will give you a +1 accuracy boost, so you can use regular attacks after Smart Strike. That's especially great on Rhyhorn because he is the fastest of the three, but it's good on Rhydon, of course, as well. I just love all these moves. They're also fitting too. The whole line is super sick. I low-key kind of prefer Rhyhorn's design. I would say I like them less as they evolve, but I still like Rhyperior. But I would say Rhyhorn is my favorite, then Rhydon. Stomping Tantrum is a beautiful stab move, 75 base power. However, it never misses. So honestly, on most Pokemon, that's more of an early game coverage move, or just any, just a nice little coverage option, or just your early game ground type stab option. But in this case, it's actually a staple move because it will never miss. So it's actually stronger than Earthquake by a significant amount. Stomping Tantrum with the Hustle boost is 112.5 base power, which is pretty crazy. These guys in general are just so strong. 118 base attack is already like sky high with Hustle. 133 base attack with Hustle is like, I don't even, it's super high. 401 times 1.5, 615. Yeah, you are like huge attack. Yeah, like over 230 almost. Yeah, 230 base attack equivalent. Obviously, you are relatively slow, but with Rock Polish or something, or even Dragon Dance late game, you can abuse that all. Honestly, Rock Polish is just better in my opinion. That's not even an opinion anyways. But yeah, the main huge buff to Hustle is that priority moves do not miss, almost making it like a pseudo Technician, but even better because it boosts all your moves. And obviously, obviously not all your moves are 100% accurate, but a lot of them are. Not to mention you can also always just boost up your accuracy with a bunch of different methods. But priority moves like Accelerock, which they start off with, and then they also get Sucker Punch as Rhydon. Holy crap. Rhyhorn does not get Sucker Punch, but Rhydon, and of course Rhyperior gets Sucker Punch, so that's another move that can never miss. Accelerock, Sucker Punch, Burst Impression, that's a beautiful option. Those three moves will never miss. In addition, you can also use U-Turn, which will never miss as well. So all of those moves are beautiful options with Hustle. Hustle is a great ability in attack. There's also a couple more options I didn't even cover, like Raging Fury, for example, can never miss. Raging Fury is a 50 base power fire type move that gives you +1 attack, and it doubles to 100 base power if you move last. So it's especially good on Rhydon. They also get Flare Blitz and stuff, which might seem kind of weird, but first of all, I'm pretty sure they learned Heat Crash via TM and Gen 8. And then also the Pokedex talks about, especially Rhyperior and Rhydon, how they live in like magma or like volcanic areas, I believe. Like their hide is resistant to volcanoes or something. Something about, yeah, like here. It is capable of living in molten lava of 36,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, and the other reason I gave Rhydon Battle Armor is super great on it is because in this ROM hack there are tons of new moves that will always crit. Again, you can check out a full list of those on a Google Sheet, but I'll quickly just click the Ruthless Guide and you can see all of the crit moves in this hack. There's also there's probably a few more that are like signature that I didn't even list. Yeah, like Snipe Shot isn't on here, for example, because no Ruthless Pokemon gets Snipe Shot, I believe. But regardless, yeah, all of these moves that always crit will deal significantly less damage on your Battle Armor of Violite Rhydon. In fact, you will be swallowing First Impressions, which is a pretty big deal in a hack like this, where it's like, a really scary move that whenever you see it, you gotta be prepared for it, because you can't even use Protect on it anymore, so you really just gotta plan accordingly. So yeah, having that Rhydon and any other bulky Battle Armor Pokemon, or any other bulky Bug Resist or anything like that is super valuable. Not to mention all these other moves are also severely weakened by Battle Armor. And the beautiful thing is that in this ROM hack, you do have access to those infinite usability capsules. So if you need the power boost, you use Hustle. If you need the defensive utility, you use Battle Armor. If you need, for example, Bulletproof, right? Bulletproof is beautiful on Rhyperior. It also fits him really well because he literally has a bulletproof vest of like protective pads on his body. So I think it's super fitting. And then it's also just excellent in terms of how it functions, because a lot of new Pokemon get the moves Aura Sphere, Shadow Ball, and Energy Ball, and all these other coverage moves via TM. And a lot of old Pokemon also get Mud Bomb for coverage, which is a 110 base power, 90% accurate ground type move. You've got Zap Cannon and Rock Wrecker, which are all really strong. Those work like Hyper Beam and Draco Meteor. I should say Draco Meteor. Hyper Beam also does that though. Focus Blast is also extremely widespread in this hack, so being completely immune to that. There's a whole list of bulletproof Pokemon here, but yeah, being completely immune to all of these moves is so useful. Even the ones that you resist, like you resist Sludge Bomb, right? You resist, Rock Wrecker, you resist Searing Shot, but being immune to them is still super valuable because you're still taking 0%. You don't have to worry about a poison on the switch in or a burn from Searing Shot or anything like that either. Even if you're taking minimal damage, it's still nice to take 0%. Then of course, Energy Ball and Focus Blast and Aura Sphere are moves that would destroy you. So Although in the sand, you could totally swallow aura spheres, so it's not like you needed to take it. But obviously, an immunity is better than taking, say, 30%. However, yeah, Rhyperior in the sand with an assault vest equipped is like incredibly tanky. They also have other great utility moves. Oh, Rhyperior can also abuse Sedimend. Sedimend is a reliable recovery move that is rock type, or rather ground type recover. It functions like shore up. So in the sand, Rhyperior heals 2/3 HP. All right. That's beautiful. That's huge. And of course, the other two will heal 50% outside of the sand. Bulletproof is very situational. You're only using that ability capsule whenever you see that the AI has a move that is affected by it, which will be pretty damn frequent. A lot of I'm not exaggerating when I say a lot of Pokemon get those moves for coverage now. So, yeah, definitely worth running Bulletproof whenever it's useful. Otherwise, Sandstream is useful. However, Sandstream, you might not always want the sand. Maybe you have another weather on your team. Maybe you need a specific weather for a specific boss fight. Maybe the opponent has a lot of rock types and you don't want to make them bulky or whatever it may be. You're not always going to want to run Sandstream, you know? You don't always need it. Or maybe the Sand Trip will hinder your strategy. Maybe you have a Focus Sash strategy going on with your other Pokemon. You know, Sandstream might fuck that up. So just worth considering. But in general, 2 great abilities on Rhyperior, 2 great on Rhydon, and of course Rhyhorn with Reckless fits very well as like this Rhino type guy. You know, he charges and stuff. And that's also why he's the fastest, and he has those really powerful Headlong Rush and Head Smashes, as well as moves like Rock Climb via TM, which is 132 base power overall with Reckless. You can also slap on a Shell Bell onto your Rhyhorn and take 0% recoil from moves like Wild Charge, Rock Climb, Takedown. And I didn't get them play rough. Let me add that. Yeah, play rough. I think I was probably, like I said, I did a lot of these buffs and changes a long time ago. However, I did heavily rework these guys. They were previously a little bit different, I believe. They've gone through quite a few changes over the years. Holy shit. Over the last few months. Why the hell did I just say? It's been years, hasn't it? No, it hasn't. Maybe it has from when I first started this. But yeah, sorry, I'm very bad at multitasking, but honestly, I'm pretty sure I've covered everything anyways. Let me just add play rough before I forget. Play rough, and we got Rhyperior. There we go. Okay, we're good. So, yeah, tons of great reliable rock type moves like Jagged Fang, Smackdown, Rock Climb, Head Smash, Rock Rocket is all 100% accurate. Boulder Bash, those are all 100% accurate rock type moves. Obviously, Accelerock is there, you know. And of course, even the slightly inaccurate ones are only 95 and 90% accurate, respectively. Rock Slide is 95-95, while Stone Edge is 80-90, but it always crits, so that's super fun. Yeah, these guys overall are just the goats. I could cover a few more things like Battle Cry is super useful. That drops attack and special attack by 2. Parting Shot is obviously great on them. You've even got other utility moves like, you know, T-Spikes. So that defensive Rhyperior or Rhydon with Sediment and all these other utility moves is also great. It really just depends on your personal playstyle, what type of challenge run you're doing. If you're doing a hardcore Nuzlocke versus just a casual playthrough, you know, anything like that, your strategies will probably change around a bit. Or you can just play for fun and use whatever strong attacks you want to use. If you're not doing a Nuzlocke at that point, you can kind of just wing it. But, you know, this hack is kind of balanced around hardcore Nuzlocks and strategizing around certain roadblocks and challenges that come up ahead with all of the really awesome options that every single Pokemon gets. And in this case, you have no shortage of options, not only in the form of just your individual abilities and moves and stats, but also in the form of infinite EV training items, infinite ability capsules, as well as the fact that you basically have 3 Pokemon, right? So if you keep your Rhyhorn and you evolve it into Rhydon, you can keep Rhydon for as long as you want, and then once you need the sand or a held item or bulletproof, you can evolve him, or you can keep Rhydon because of hustle or battle armor. They're both great. They're totally optional. Like, it's really just up to which one you prefer. And also your other teammates, your strategies, whatever it may be. And a team lock Nuzlocke especially, whichever one you evolve into will be pretty important. So yeah, that's about all though. I could cover a few more things, but I trust that you can all figure it out for yourselves if you look at the moves in the description down below, or just if you already know what they do. But yeah, thank you so much, and I'll be back for more buffs and changes coming up. Peace, y'all. I'm really happy about these guys. Hopefully you are as well.